Good morning, Krishi Jagran viewers. This is Binita Kumari, and we are here today at African Asian Rural Development Organization to interview His Excellency Dr. Nardeosingh. Sir, please walk us through what AARDO does.
A very good morning to everybody. Very good morning to the viewers of Krishi Jagran. It's a pleasure for me to introduce AARDO to you. AARDO is the African Asian Rural Development Organization. It is an intergovernmental organization, an international organization connecting Asia and Africa for rural and agricultural development. Basically, it is a manifestation of solidarity between African people and Asian people to support each other, to find solutions, to find cooperative projects, to implement for the benefit of development of community areas in these continents. It has been established since 1962. It is celebrating already 60 years in this year 2022. And we are also now advocating lots of technology dissemination for rural development. We are an organization promoting cooperation, and we've got flagship programs in human resource development. We stress a lot on human resource development. Besides the human resource development, which we are running in different countries in Asia and Africa, we've got our centers of excellences located in these countries. Overall, we've got 12 different countries running different high-level human resource development program. And besides these programs, we are also supporting exchanges of experts and a few development pilot projects in African and Asian countries. As I said, this is the solidarity between Africa and Asia. And we've got 32 government members already with us. And the potential is all the countries in Africa and all the countries in Asia. They are potential members with which we are also working, and we are trying to get them on board. Given that we've got a multiplicity of different countries, we are also working on 3 different languages. Mm-hmm. We promote all our programs, all our exchanges in 3 different languages, that is English, French, and Arabic languages, so as to cater for the needs of most of these countries in Africa and Asia. We have got a status, an observer status at many UN organizations. We are very strongly advocating rural development to be mainstream in economic development, in policies in all the countries, especially in these 2 continents where we know the majority of the people are living in rural areas.
So, during your time here at AARDO, what common problems have you found between both African and Asian countries?
Well, these 2 continents, they've got many similarities, Africa and Asia. Some of the countries are quite developed in Asia and Africa also. But most of these countries in Africa and Asia, they are classified as developing countries, or even very less developed countries are there. In Africa, especially in sub-Saharan Africa. The commonalities in most of these African and Asian countries, we have noted that many of them are agrarian as economies. They have got agrarian economies. And some of them have moved up to industrialization, to service sectors. But these are the commonalities which also gives ground to greater cooperation, to sharing of knowledge and sharing of experiences and development path which has been taken by different countries. And we've noted many problems which are common there. If I elaborate, we've already in the framework, we've already worked our strategic framework for 2021 to 2030, where we've elaborated, if I'm not mistaken, nearly 20 problems which are affecting most of these countries in Asia and Africa. And especially these problems have been magnified by the pandemic and the after effect of pandemics also, we know, and some of the conflicts which are ongoing in the world.
So can you share some of those common problems that you find, the list of 20 problems that you mentioned?
Most of these problems, because we are very much rural centric, I can elaborate a few of them which are basically in the rural areas. And when we talk about rural areas, we cannot dissociate agriculture. So most of them will be associated or will be in the agricultural sector. We know that in the rural areas, infrastructure is a big problem. Getting access to those villages in many countries in Asia and Africa is one of the biggest problems. And beside that infrastructure, we've got health infrastructure, which has been highlighted very recently. This also is a problem we are working into, and we are finding solutions to that one. And obviously, when we talk about agriculture, we know that most of these countries and those who are members in AARDO, they've got low productivity and low production as compared to the world average or to the best standard, which is happening in Asia and Africa also. And women empowerment is becoming a big issue there. And unemployment is rampant in many of these countries in Asia and Africa. So these are the common problems. And obviously, because there are different countries associated with us, they are at different stages of development. Some of them are classified as advanced. Those countries which are more or less classified as advanced, they are facing a different kind of problem related to the population. They've got an aging population, whereas the rest of the countries we are dealing with, they are having a young population, and a youth unemployment is quite high on the agenda of many policymakers because it's really a problem affecting many of our member countries. And if we talk about specifically about agriculture also, we know that there is a lots of wastage in the production, in the post-harvest of agriculture in these countries. And technology is very low. Mechanization also is quite low in some of these countries. There are a few exceptions which are quite there, implementing high level of technologies and mechanization. But most of them are having very low mechanization. And obviously, low value addition. Processing also is done at a very minimal level. So these are the basic problems which are affecting agricultural and rural development in our AARDO member countries.
So what do you think all the African and Asian countries can learn from each other?
African and Asian countries, as I said, have got many commonalities, and we are the platform connecting all these African and Asian countries for them to effectively learn from each other. As I said, some of the countries have already gone through, if we take Green Revolution, for example, they have already gone through Green Revolution. Others are still at the stages where they will have to undertake their green revolutions and increase their productivity so that they can solve the problem of food security, which is hampering everywhere, and the problem of hunger is a big issue in many of these countries. Some of these countries have implemented very successfully many of these programs to support productivity, to support poverty alleviation, to support hunger and malnutrition have been eradicated in some of these countries. This is where the sharing of the knowledge, and we as a platform, we bring many technicians, many policymakers from different African and Asian countries in our highly specialized human resource development programs. We are practically covering 70 different domains. So if elaborate, there will be 70 different problems we are looking into. And we are also trying to see how we can bring these African and Asian countries have to share technologies. If they don't share the technology, they will not be able to progress at a rate which is required to implement their national programs and the national policies which are there already.
So 2023 is the year of the millets. So what are AARDO's plans around it?
Yes, in fact, the year 2023 is the year of millet, which has been decreed by the United Nations following the proposal by the government of India, and rightly so, as millet is now classified as an imported food, and which has been neglected. It has been there in many countries. Millions of people have been consuming millets, but because of that, as I said, the Green Revolution, all policies have been favoring other crops, other cereals like rice and wheat. So millet has got a bit the backstage. So this is an important year decreed by the UN, where I do understand many organizations, many governments are having well elaborated programs. And AARDO also, we are trying to join the wagon and bring our support. We will be organizing many events. Most of our programs will be mentioning that is the International Year of Millet, and we will be having specific programs. We are going with the idea of having a roundtable meeting that has been scheduled in March. Somewhere in March, we'll be having that roundtable meeting on millet. But we, as I said, our main focus is on technology also. We want to have technology which will enhance productivity in millet, so that we don't go back to the same type of varieties of millets we were having. We want better varieties. So we have to bring more science and more technology during this year of millet to show and demonstrate to governments and people that millet is an important cereals to be taken up. Not only from the nutrition point of view, it is very nutritious. It has got many nutrition which is required for nutrition security, for food security, but most importantly also from the environmental point of view. This is what we are going to highlight in our workshop, in our roundtable meeting. From the environment point of view, this is a very important cereal because it consumes less water. It is also classified even as an organic type of cereal. It does not even require lots of fertilizer. Also, as I said, fertilizer has helped us in achieving certain food security, but it has been quite detrimental to the environment. So millet is one of these cereal, and this is the year we have to promote that, which will provide food security while safeguarding the environment also.
So there has been a lot of talk around sustainability in agriculture, food security, and climate. What is your vision of a sustainable country?
Indeed, sustainability has been there since quite long nowadays. People have been talking about sustainability. There have been at the international level commitment of the world, commitment of government towards sustainable growth. So we know that sustainability is a concept which has been already implemented in many of these policies and programs. But my personal understanding of sustainability is that it has to be implemented at the level of grassroots level. Each one must understand what is sustainability. And sustainability, all the three concepts of the sustainability have to be fully taken on board at individual level, meaning that you have to progress in a way that it is economic also, that you have to protect the planet also, protect the society, protect the community. And sustainability cannot be there without the concept of inclusive growth. So I personally interlink and intertwine these two concepts, sustainability and inclusive growth. As we know that SDGs have been already endorsed and being implemented. There are all the parameters which are being followed by many countries. But it's unfortunate that we are a bit lacking in the implementation. We know even if we talk about SDG 1, SDG 2 itself, these are the two main parameters or main targets of sustainability. The whole world is lacking behind. A few countries may be on target, but most of them are derailed. We are out of the main target. And it's quite aberrant, and aberrant also, I would say, that we are leaving many people at a very low level of poverty level, under poverty, in the line of poverty. We cannot bring them into the mainstream of economy. So my understanding of sustainability, a country will be sustainable when it will first attain these two first goals out of the 17 goals. Obviously, all the goals are very important, but these two goals have to be focused. Once you attain these two first goal and second goal, we can classify the country as a sustainable, or at least going towards sustainability. And we have to be very careful that because now we are left only with 7 more years to go. We have committed to that SDG goals, and we are already halfway. And lots of efforts have to be done. And most of these countries where they are popularizing the concept of inclusive growth, taking everybody on board, decreasing the inequality between people, decreasing the inequality between urban areas and rural areas, giving facilities of urban facilities in rural areas. So these are the countries which are going to achieve sustainability. This is my concept, personal concept of sustainability.
So we know that poverty is a vicious cycle, and with all the work AARDO has done with poverty-stricken countries, do you think you have found a solution yet?
Poverty is one of the biggest problems being faced by many of other member countries. And how to get people out of poverty is indeed, as you said, it is a vicious circle. When you take it at the individual level also, or at the economy level, at the national economy level, when the poverty is there, you do not have enough resources, there will be low investment. Low investments means low income. This is the vicious circles which goes on and on. And obviously, we have been able to find certain sectors. This is why we are putting lots of emphasis on agricultural development, rural development, value addition, and diversification of agriculture, and making sure that there are economic activities which are generated in the countries so that they can combat that poverty. And we have also found certain solutions in terms of bringing finance, the concept of microfinancing. And we have got a model which is called the AARDO model of microfinance. We provide some seed capital of finance to a group of members, especially at the community level. Now we are encouraging women to avail themselves of these type of programs. We have got a program being run nowadays in Jordan where we've got a fund, a small amount of seed capital given to a cooperative society. It can be an association, it can be an organization, where people come together, make use of that fund to undertake economic activities, so that they refund to the fund. That this money is given free of charge of interest. There is no interest in that. And they group themselves to ensure that there is also the peer influence and the support. They are supporting each other to make sure that their economic activities are successful, and so that they can refund the money to that central fund. And this funding is used again for other groups and so on. These type of programs are successful. I do understand even India also has got certain program like this. This is where we want to replicate these programs to many other countries. And when we're having our people coming for training, they are taught these different programs. Even many countries have been very successfully combating poverty. We've got the model of Malaysia, which has been even classified as a killer of poverty. So these models which have been implemented, the policy which have been implemented, have been taken on board by AARDO and for further propagation to other member countries. In Bangladesh also, we've got a few programs which are very successfully combating poverty. And in Korea, or South Korea, we've got a good model of village development, where everybody in the village is taken on board and poverty is also being defeated there. So these are the model we are propagating from the AARDO perspective to all the member countries of AARDO.
Sir, you mentioned the Malaysian killer of poverty model. Could you please further elaborate that?
Malaysia is one of our founder member country, and we've got many programs we are running in Malaysia where we study those models of poverty. They call it, we have a specific program on rural transformation. So rural transformation, there is a component on how they tackle that rural poverty. And obviously it's a comprehensive policy programs and support from the government, where they've got a series of schemes to ensure that money goes directly, whenever there are direct transfer, to people who are poor in the region. And then there is a follow-up of these schemes and the money given to them. And obviously there are many components associated with that. They have also got the training programs. make sure that people benefiting from the schemes of government can move out of that poverty, and they are well vaccinated not to fall back into poverty. So that's the beauty of that program which is being run in Malaysia. Obviously, India also has got some of these programs and many other countries. So we combine all the richness of various experiences of different countries. And this is where we get the synergy of getting better programs for implementation and for adjustment in different countries.
Sir, since joining AARDO, what are the biggest changes you have noticed in India and its relation with other AARDO members?
First of all, I would like to thank the government of India to giving full support and to be a founder member of this organization. And we are getting lots of support in terms of our programs, in terms of all our technical programs also, in terms of our organizational meetings. And we are even at the secretariat, which is being hosted. It has been provided by the government of India. And personally, I've been following the economy of India. I've been since I joined in here, because India has got lots of things to share to the world, to share to AARDO member countries. And most of the AARDO member countries are very grateful, and they acknowledge the programs and the support given by the government of India. And obviously, because India is a very vast country, and it's also a country living in the villages, as many of our AARDO member countries, this is where we've got easily programs which can be emulated and transferred to these countries. I personally noticed a huge progress being achieved in rural development, especially through the various schemes which are being run by the government of India. And these schemes are very impactful, and we can see real progress in rural development. And obviously, if we take these examples and we copy them, we tailor-made them, we adjust them, that will be very helpful in many countries, especially in the sub-Saharan African countries. And we know that India also, I've noticed and I've taken good note of the progress of India, which has made in the ICT sector. India is now known on the world front as a bright spot also. The economy also is being, although most of the economies of the world are facing serious difficulties, they are lacking steam to get back to normal after that COVID pandemic. India being a strong economy, being a well-planned economy with many of programs and support going to the people at the grassroots level, at the lower rank of the ladder. And this is where India has been able to capitalize on the youth also, and appreciate also lots of the startups and the startup programs and the accelerator of startups, which again I usually promote as a model to other member countries. And India has got a philosophy of supporting other member countries, and this is where it is reflected in the support and in the organization itself, where most of the support are easily obtainable from the government of India. Lately, we've got in our program of exchange of experts coming down from Lebanon to India to study their programs in agriculture and rural development. And I've noticed also India has got a series of institutions which are doing advanced research, which are very much specialized in different sectors. Most of these institutions falls under that ICAR. And the ICAR institutions, we are collaborating directly with them. So I'm personally following all the research, and practically the research which relates to agricultural and rural development, so that we invite them also to partner with us to disseminate those informations and to disseminate whatever their findings and whatever they can recommend from the perspective of India to other member countries of AARDO.
Sir, what motivates you on a personal level to work for the development of the society, especially for the largely unseen rural people?
Well, my personal background, I'm an economist by profession. I've been serving also at the Ministry of Economic Planning and Development, where I could easily see the economy from a national perspective, from a bird's eye view perspective. But after that, I've also been serving the government of Mauritius as Secretary for Cooperative Development. And cooperatives are only a tool. They are effective tools for empowerment of people, empowerment of the rural areas. This is when I developed an affinity for the rural areas. And I took it as a mission that the rural areas have to get more or less the same facilities, or at least they have to be upgraded in terms of income. I have noticed lots of income disparity between people on the rural areas and the urban areas. And obviously, we, having that knowledge and having that background, and now serving at this platform, and this is a wonderful platform. AARDO is a wonderful platform where we are connecting all these countries to share their real experiences, to share their real research and give the recommendation, and now sharing the technologies. And obviously at a later stage there can be enhancement of trade also. So my personal motivation is to see that all these things happen. So we have to create more bridges, and AARDO gives us the opportunity to create this type of bridges. So I'm personally motivated in creating more bridges than walls. In many cases, we know that there are many walls which are there, or impediments, which prevents us to give solutions which are already available to other countries or to the different rural areas. So I think this is a noble cause, and the nobleness of that cause motivates me to work in this domain.
So AARDO does a lot of educational drives for farmers. Can you run us through what the Indian farmers are facing on the ground level?
Indian farmers, just like other farmers of many African Asian countries, they are facing a series of problems, especially when we know that India has got farmers which are operating at very small scale. Some of them are even marginal farmers. The marginality and the size of the scale of operation prevents them to jump into that economic train or the development wagon. So this is where I personally feel, not only in India, as you are asking the question specific to India, but we find the same scenario in most of these countries. Because of their smallness, they cannot even enjoy the economies of scale. They cannot expand, they cannot diversify. They are used to one type of program, one type of production. And that too also, when you see their level of harvest, their level of production, their productivity, they are lagging in terms of productivity as compared to the national level, to the best performing level. So this is where we need to benchmark, at least at the national, I think for the government of India, for the India economy, we have to benchmark in the region what is the best productivity level which has to be achieved by farmers. And mechanization becomes a problem if it is not fully adopted, or we do not have the proper type of mechanization. We cannot go for any type of mechanization. Mechanization has to be studied first. We have to know which type of mechanization, depending on the soil and on the scale of the activity. So mechanization again is another problem. And then maybe the collectivity of the farmers. In some cases, we found very successful the farmers' organizations or cooperative organizations. We are doing very well. And most of those farmers, they are not able to come together in terms of uniting their production and having the reliability of that production. And as we are talking in a sector which is very much dependent on climate, there are vagaries of the climate which are there. So the issue will again come on the insurance of the crop whenever farmers are there. And the availability of finance also comes into play. These are the major problems, I think, being faced by farmers, not only in India, but most of our member countries. So we have to find solutions, and we are working into that. We have got partial solution for that. We know how to tackle the solution of mechanization. Now we are talking even about smart agriculture. So we have to see how we encourage those small farmers to move towards smart agriculture by using more of the techniques and the technology available nowadays. So we are very much nowadays connected with the IITs, which are very prestigious institution in India. We are very much connected with the ICAR institutions. So this is where we find these specific solutions for the farmers and especially the small farmers and marginal farmers. And operating in the sector of agriculture has got a series of other problems which can be tackled only through collectivism. So we encourage farmers to find the appropriate way to come together and to operate as a single unit so that they can easily buy their inputs also at discounted prices. Usually what they are having, they're buying the inputs at very high prices, and then they are selling on the wholesale market. So they should be reversing that situation, buying on the wholesale and trying to sell on the retail market. So this is where they can have their own organization for marketing or have favorable agreements for marketing. And even at some point in time, they should be able to think about exporting. Export also, it's a huge market, it's a huge potential, where even those small farmers, when they are grouped together, they can easily tap those export markets also.
So where do you see rural India in the next 5 to 10 years?
My personal vision of India in the 5 to 10 years, especially when I've studied the trend, I've studied most of the programs which are being implemented. I personally see that we are going to have rural India, which is going to be very prosperous and fully involving youngsters, especially nowadays when we are promoting those young startups to go to the rural areas and to implement their project at that level. And with the support of the government of India, with all the programs which are being run, I know there are many of them, especially the connectivity, the rural roads have been there. And then the livelihood missions also are there, and support is being given to have value addition of products and diversification. I personally see the diversification of agriculture happening, and the scaling up of the value addition and reduction of losses also will be there. So this will be adding the value and contributing more. Agricultural and rural development will contribute more to the GDP of India, and obviously will have a greater chunk into projecting India to the next level, to the higher level of economic development. And we know that India is soon to be seen at the third largest economy in the world. So the contribution of the rural sector, because even in 5-10 years, we can estimate easily 50% and above of the population will still be rural. So the economic activities and social activities and empowerment of people will be the contributing factor to support government of India or the Indian economy to jump to that third economic level of the world, third economy of the world. The government of India is assuming the G20, has already assumed the G20 presidency. And during that presidency, all the rural development models, even which will be happening over the next 5-10 years, will be shared with other member countries and obviously with the world. And AARDO also is putting lots of emphasis on more science to the society. And I personally see that there will be greater application of science and technology in the rural areas of India. And we will be very happy as AARDO to share all these models and all these developments with all our member countries. And we are already having what we call the affordable technology menu. And I do understand that India will be implementing many of these technologies which will be easily affordable and can easily be accessible to other AARDO member countries. So we will be looking forward on leveraging on Government of India and all our member countries also to facilitate rural development and to empower rural communities in Africa and Asia.
Thank you so much for talking with us today, sir. We are sure that Krishi Jagran viewers appreciate your talk, and we will look forward to much more further conversations in the future.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it was my pleasure as Secretary General of AARDO to address you and all your viewers, and we look forward to more interaction with you. Especially, you've got a huge platform of viewers, and we want all the viewers also to access our website so that we can together find better solutions and more solutions to our communities in rural areas in Africa and Asia. Thank you very much.